Hey everyone, it's Mason. Welcome back to HerbRally. Our goal for the show is to help you along your herbalist journey, no matter what stage you're at. Today's video is actually a podcast episode that I was featured on, and that's Wild Herbs with April. That's April Punsalon. Definitely recommend hitting pause and going and subscribing on your podcast player of choice. But yeah, this one was recorded a couple months ago. This is episode 11 of the Wild Herbs with April Punsalon podcast. And in this conversation, we talk about what I learned from working at Mountain Rose Herbs for 11 years, why I created HerbRally and what it does for the herbal community. I share my top tips for embarking on your herbalism path, my viewpoint on accreditation in the herbalism world, and a ton more. So I really hope you enjoy this podcast. Again, April has lots of amazing guests, not calling myself amazing, but yeah, definitely go and subscribe to the Wild Herbs with April podcast. You can learn more about her and her work as well at wildherbacademy.com. She's got lots of great classes and other herbal offerings on there as well. Other than that, if you enjoyed the video, would you mind giving it a thumbs up? That'd be super duper cool. Also, if you're not already subscribed, we've been coming out with new herbalism videos every single day. So if you'd like more great herbal content, be sure you're subscribed to our channel. And yeah, if you had any takeaways from the show, feel free to leave those in the comments section below. Big shout out and thanks to April for having me on the show. That's going to do it for my rambling today. Enjoy today's episode, and I'll talk to you very, very soon.
Yeah. Smoking herbal blends. We need some mullein and some kush, my brethren. While listening to HerbRally podcast again. Herbalism at its finest with Mason Hutchison. Yeah.
So I'm super excited today because I'm interviewing Mason Hutchison. Did I pronounce your last name right?
Well, technically it's Hutchison. We're missing the N, so it's all good.
Hutchison. So I'm super excited today because I'm interviewing Mason Hutchison, and he's the founder of HerbRally, an herbal community hub that promotes herbalism, education, and events. And you definitely need to know about HerbRally, and what a better way than to hear from the co-founder of HerbRally. He's also the host of Herbalist Hour, a podcast, and a YouTube series where he is posting new interviews each week from a diverse array of plant people. So this is your go-to place to learn new teachers. Mason is a husband, a proud father, an avid chess player, basketball and ping pong player, right on,
Yeah.
spring water gatherer, I love that, and an enthusiast in the art of frugal nutrition. Right on. But thank you so much, Mason, for coming and being on the Wild Herb podcast.
Oh, it's great to be here, April. And, I don't remember which episode you were on, but you were also on the Herbalist Hour, which was a hoot.
Yeah, that was fun. That was good.
Amanda said that was one of
me.
her all-time favorite episodes. So,
oh,
yeah.
That's really kind of her.
I remember we were out gardening, listening to it together. She's like, April's just so cool.
Oh, tell her I said thank you.
I will.
So, I was thinking about what to ask you because I feel like you have this, just this well-steeped infusion of herbalism, like this really good background. And so I just wanted to know, like, when did herbalism become your jam? When did it become your life purpose?
Totally. Yeah, I would say I was probably in my early 20s. I was just getting into nutrition by way of learning that the things that you eat have a direct effect on your mental state. I've always kind of struggled with depression and just general low mood and whatnot. And, growing up on the standard American diet, it was a revelation for me to find out that what you put in your body actually has a direct influence on how you think and how you feel. So beginning to have a passion for nutrition in my late teens, and then that kind of segued into learning about traditional Chinese medicine. I remember when adaptogens were all the rage. And so, yeah, I was getting really into TCM, Ayurveda. And it was just kind of a subsect of getting into nutrition is kind of when I first started getting into herbalism.
Nice. So what was your, when you realized that food had an impact on your mind, what was the food? What was the main thing that you were eating that you noticed that you felt better?
That's really good question. And no one's asked me that before, so I'll have to think about this. But I would say what happened first was, I was a budding hippie and I learned about organic food. So, I would say I ate like a lot of fast food, probably like candy, junk food growing up. And then I slowly transitioned to organic food. And I would say probably I would try making, even though I didn't have a very good income, I would say I would still try to make I put a lot of emphasis on spending money on high quality food, so organic, this and
Mm.
that. And then it kind of transitioned to I learned about, I'm just disclaimer, I'm not a vegetarian anymore, but I do think that this phase was incredibly important for me in my transition. I then went into organic vegetarianism, and then I went to veganism, and then I started experimenting with fruitarianism. So I think that what I was doing, or like I guess instinctually was doing, was I was quote unquote cleansing my body over the course of
Mm.
several years. I started fasting a lot. Again, this isn't like medical advice. I mean, do your own thing. But what I was doing was I was just immersing myself fully into just like a more quote unquote natural way of living. And then, I slowly reintroduced organic meats and stuff into my life. And I would say now that I'm almost 40 years old, I kind of have a much more 80-20 like balanced approach. I try not to be too
Mm.
dogmatic about the way I see nutrition or anything like that. But yeah, early on it was just the diving headfirst into organic. Vegetarianism definitely played a large role in my transition as well. So I'm very thankful for that, if that answers your question.
Yeah. And so when you went from vegetarian to vegan, did you notice a difference in the amount of energy you had? I mean, did you notice a
Yeah,
difference in your body?
I would definitely say so. I would say my weight was getting probably a little too low for how I'd prefer to
Mm.
be. But yeah, definitely as I was progressing further and further, I did feel more and more energized in that moment in time for sure.
And was there an herb that kind of really had an impact on you that you're like, yeah, okay, these herbs work and I want to study them, like
Oh
either through
yeah.
Chinese medicine or and when you were first starting out?
I do. So also kind of going back to my late teens, early 20s, I remember at a party one time, there was this kid and he said it must have been springtime because a dandelion was popping out of our yard. And he said, "Do you know you can eat that?" And it just like totally blew my mind. I was like, really? That's not from a grocery store. So we nibbled on some leaves, and I wonder if that was where some of the spark for my herbalism came later on.
Mm.
But yeah, experiencing eating a wild food was definitely transformational. I can't say that at that moment of time I made that like a habit, but it definitely changed the paradigm, the way I saw the world and the way I saw food. Um, but yeah, there was several herbs that I started taking in my early 20s when I first started getting traditional Chinese medicine. I would say Hoshu Wu, aka faux
Mm.
tea. That's how
Okay.
Mountain Rose Herb sells it, as faux tea, but I always
Oh.
learned it as Hoshu Wu. Goji berries, astragalus. I remember we would take Romania. Um,
Mm.
yeah, those were all like really influential, and I definitely could feel the energy from those plants for sure.
Mm. Do you still work with them?
I do. Astragalus I use quasi frequently. They definitely go into my broths. I'll make
Mm.
a decoction out of them sometimes. I did just recently buy 2 pounds of faux tea from Mountain Rose Herbs, and I keep forgetting that it's in my cabin. I was like, all right, I'm gonna get back into faux tea.
What is faux tea? Because is it a polygonum or what
Polygonum,
is it?
that's right.
Okay. Okay, because I think I bought some one time. I don't know what kind of issue I was having. I think it was urinary, and I
Yeah,
bought some and I didn't, it was a supplement, and I don't do really well with supplements. It's like I need to touch the herb, I need to see the herb. And so I didn't take
absolutely.
it. Still in my refrigerator. But it always, polygonum, I feel like I could see how those roots are pretty powerful, moving like energy and chi.
Yeah, I want to say it was some sort of, and I'm not really trained in TCM, although it was like my gateway system to getting into herbalism. I want to say I was either like a Jing tonic or a Qi tonic or something like that. So adaptogen, just
Gotcha.
very, very nourishing.
Nice.
Yeah.
So let's talk about HerbRally because you formed this amazing, with the help of your wife, this amazing business that brings the herbal community together. And, when I was first starting out and Wild Herb Academy was Yohola Herbal School, I was so pleased to be able to put the name of the school. It made it feel more real that I could put the website on your website and, and it was free. It's this free thing that I could do and to kind of let people know that I'm in South Carolina. And
Mm.
so, I want to touch on Mountain Rose Herbs because you worked for Mountain Rose Herbs for a long time, but what made you feel the need to start HerbRally?
Oof, yeah. No, please. Were you done with that question?
I was just going to say, what made you feel the need to start HerbRally and bring the herbal community together?
Yeah, so as you alluded to, I worked for Mountain Rose Herbs for 11 years, and 10 of those years I was their events organizer. And when I was working there, I thought it'd be interesting to find a website where they list all of the herbalism events that happen throughout the United States. And so
Mm-hmm.
I found some websites here and there that would list the major conferences. I want to say maybe like American Herbalist Guild probably list, some of the larger events or at least their events. But I was looking for where are these like small little herb walks going on, these herb talks at the local library, that kind of thing, because I knew these were happening because they were happening in my community and I knew they were happening everywhere. So I couldn't find a website like that. So I just thought, well, shoot, I guess I'll make one myself. And I had this grandiose vision that it was going to be like this world map where it'd be 3D and you could like zoom in and it'd be like this perfect setup. And so I just held on to this idea forever. And then I was like, well, I can't start with perfection in mind. So I'm just going to start by listing these out. And so it just kind of it started there, and then it just essentially it just started expanding. So yeah, it was very important for me because I thought that if I wanted to know about these different plant walks, I have to imagine that other people want to know as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll always remember when I was boothing in Portland, Oregon at the traditional, oh shoot, I can't remember, a Portland plant medicine gathering. A couple came up to me to the Mountain Rose Herbs table and said, "Hey Mason, we're here because we found out about the event through HerbRally," and that just like it made it all worth it for me. I was like, oh, people are using this website for its intended function.
Definitely. It's
Yeah,
it's such a valuable resource. And I love how you identified a need
yeah,
and then you filled that gap. And you did it just, you didn't wait for it to be perfect. You just did it, and now it's beautiful. I mean, the website, when I first found y'all, it was beautiful. I don't know what it looked like when you first started, because Wild Herb Academy is a new school. So,
yeah,
and HerbRally has been going on now for 8 years.
yeah. We started in May of 2015.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is amazing. And it had to be, inspiring too to see Mountain Rose Herbs and what they're doing and working for them for 11 years. I'm sure you learned a lot from
Absolutely.
working with them. What do you think you learned from them that really helped you with HerbRally?
Well, I mean, honestly, like it was the position that I had was the herbal community liaison, and I knew
Mm,
everything about, not everything. I knew a lot about the events that were going on in the community. They definitely helped immerse myself into the herbal community at large. Like I was in charge of the herbal educator program. I went to all these different events throughout the 10 years. They would fly me to all these various events, and I would get to hang out with
wow.
the herbalists in person at the events, at this or that event. And yeah, so I don't know if that actually answers your question or not.
Well, I think it just probably I imagine seeing all these events and seeing how much is going on in the United States in the world of herbalism. You want
Totally.
people to know that. You want to bridge that gap and keep us together.
Yeah, when I first started, I was in customer service for the first, I want to say 11 months, and then I switched over to the marketing department, which is where I was organizing the events. And in that transition, we hosted an event called Rootstock, which is now kind of like an herbal lore, herbal history. Like it's no longer around. It was like a one-time event. And at that event, I got to meet 25 or so just incredible herbalists, and that was already like when my herbal fire was lit. And so I was just like getting to meet all of my favorite herbalists that I heard on, say, Herb Mentor Radio, hosted by John Gallagher back in the day. And yeah, so and then just kind of to add on to that, then I had the events job and I just started flying all over the country and hanging out with these herbalists even more. There's the more I'm in this and the longer I'm doing this, I'm realizing there's an herbalist in every pocket of the world,
Mhm.
especially if they're not online. Like there's so many herbalists that aren't even on the internet. You know what I mean? So
Yes. A lot. It's probably
yeah,
some of the best ones, right? Because
for
they're not
real.
having to be distracted with the internet.
Right.
You get more time to connect with the plants.
Amen.
Um, so what did you, through working with all these different herbalists, how do you think the herbal community is doing now, staying connected? Do you think we're pretty connected, or do you think we got some work to do?
Yeah, the internet, I would say, has definitely made us connected.
Mm.
And I would say I have this and this is probably just my own for my own self like preservation, but I have like this abundance mindset. I think there's enough to go around for everybody, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's naive, but optimism fuels my happiness. Like it's good for my life to remain optimistic. So whereas some people might see, oh, there's another herb school that's going to affect my bottom line, I think that herbalism is consistently becoming more and more popular, which is an amazing thing on so many levels. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
there's always more room. And you know what? Sometimes our elder herbalists retire and we make room for new herbalists and herbal schools and whatnot. So yeah, I would say overall we're becoming more and more connected, and that really is one of HerbRally's goals is to like you have a podcast now, April, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
so excited for. That's so rad. I was listening to your interview
Aw.
with Corey Ponchain earlier today. That was fun. I love Blue Vervain, which he was talking about. But like my goal with the Herbalist Hour is I say jokingly or exaggeratively, I want to interview every herbalist on the planet. You know what I mean? So, which will
Mm.
take a long time. I just want to continuously show the world how many people there are doing this incredible work. And yeah, this it's definitely my mission.
It's inspiring. It's definitely inspiring. And we need Herb Rally really bad because I feel like there's so many people that want to learn herbalism, but some of us, botanists, herbalists, ethnobotanists, we're not marketers,
Right.
and it can be really hard for us to get the word out. Where I feel like Mountain Rose Herbs has done a phenomenal job.
Yep.
The elderberry product, whoever started promoting that got out, and everybody wanted elderberry, but there's 50 other wild herbs that we could forage. But
Right.
anyway, the marketing is huge. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if you could talk a little bit about that. Why Mountain Rose Herbs, do you feel like they have been so successful because they've been really good at marketing?
Yeah, 100%. And I'll say this: I know Sean Donnell, he's the current sole owner of Mountain Rose Herbs, and he's been on the Herbalist Hour as well. And I would say he probably attributes most of the success of Mountain Rose Herbs to their marketing efforts. Like
Mm.
he I remember right before I left, it's kind of when he transitioned to being full-time owner. And it was kind of an exciting time for us because he was back on campus all the time. And I swear, like we would have weekly marketing meetings and they would last 3 hours long because Sean loved being in the marketing department and he was so full of ideas and it was just so fun for him. So yeah, Mountain Rose Herbs puts a lot of emphasis on their marketing.
Yes.
They at least when I was there, they probably had 5 full-time staff in the marketing department, including myself, and then 2 or 3 creatives, aka that's videography, photography, graphics, all that. So plus, yeah, the director. So if you want to say that, that's probably like around 8-ish people that they're
Wow.
investing in full time in-house. So they're not, in other words, they're not outsourcing it to some, you know, other company to do their marketing for them.
And they're doing paid ads. Like they have someone in there that knows how to run ads.
Yeah, they've
That's
got paid
amazing.
ads, they've got content marketing, which I'm bullish on. I think content marketing is definitely a great way to go. And I think Mountain Reserves does that really well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's kind of like, hey, learn how to make, this is how you do elderberry syrup. This is how you
right.
do this chai tea. That kind of marketing. That like then their videos, yeah, and their pictures are beautiful. And so yeah,
Absolutely.
everybody wants to look at that. So
Right.
kudos to Mountain Rose Herbs. And how cool is that you were able to work with them and see, because you told me, when you first started, they had 110 employees. And when you transitioned to HerbRally full time, 250 employees.
Yeah.
And I'm still just one woman show.
Yeah.
So-
I upgraded to 2 people for HerbRally, but I had to marry someone to do it.
Yeah, I would like to upgrade to 2. I'm always like, still, you want to edit the podcast?
Right.
But anyway, we'll get there, right?
Right.
So when, because you have this amazing business and you're really giving us this wonderful resource. And so for you listening, I highly recommend going to HerbRally after this podcast is over, going to your respective state and see what's going on, and give HerbRally a shout out, share it on your Instagram page, because we need everyone to know about HerbRally. And that's why I really wanted to interview you. I'm wondering, so, I'm kind of a science geek and I like to look at gaps in knowledge. Do you see a gap in the herbalism knowledge or like somewhere? So for an herbalist that's coming in and need, because you identified a need and you were able to fill it. Do you see any other needs in the herbalist community?
Other needs in the herbalist community. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Wow. That is that's a doozy. I can't think of anything right now, April.
That's okay, no worries. We can skip
Okay.
that question.
Yeah.
Let's talk.
Let me marinate on it. All right.
Okay, yeah, you marinate
Yeah,
on that
yeah.
one. So I feel like some of my listeners, a lot of the listeners may be beginners. And we all begin somewhere, right? We all start learning plants. And right now it's a critical time for people to learn plants because the food in the grocery store is getting so expensive.
Yep.
And I've heard that food security is at risk in the future. I don't know how far in the future, but I've heard that for sure. And, our food's polluted. And there's so many reasons why people need to know herbalism and forage. And it's really part of being human.
Yep.
So as someone who's been doing herbalism for a really long time and you have your own business, HerbRally, where do you recommend beginners start? Can you go back to when you first started, in your 20s, early 20s, what would you tell somebody, a listener that's just starting out?
Oh, I love that question. Okay. So you probably start with buying a book. Okay. I would say start with buying a book. And it could be, there's so many books out there. I won't even say one. I mean, sure, go buy one of Rosemary Gladstar's book because I feel like that's one of the recommendations that I hear most often. And plus, Rosemary Gladstar is awesome. She's probably come up on your show before at some point. Someone's probably, well, if not, if you don't know, dear listener, about Rosemary Gladstar, you got to go learn more about her.
Yes, for sure.
So many amazing books, but I would say, yeah, start with a book. But more than that, what I did was I think it's so important to go out and see these plants in person. And we could talk about online school later on. I think there's a place for that. But if you could just start by going to a plant walk with an herbalist in your neck of the woods, as we like to say, like there is nothing like that. And it will get you so much more excited about it than I like the book because it's fun. You have it at your house and it's at your just like you could read it whenever you want. But like a plant walk, not only are you out there with the plants learning about them, but you're also learning from an extremely passionate, knowledgeable teacher who's getting you even more excited about it in your environment. But then after that, you're also surrounded by what, 10, 20 other people who are also plant curious. And so it kind of creates this ambiance of just everyone nerding out, looking at these little flowers together and just getting really in the zone. You know what I mean? Like I still remember, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it, going on my first plant walk at Mount Pisgah in Eugene, Oregon with Keith Hess. And we spent like 2 or 3 hours out there. And it's just, and the other funny thing about a plant walk is it's really more of like a plant like stand because you like stand for like a 15-20 minutes period of time and then you go like 20 feet and you do the same thing somewhere else. But yeah, just being out there in nature just really lights your fire. And then I would say beyond that, if you're able to afford it, because I know a lot of these apprenticeships are super expensive, if you're able to afford it, find a in-person school that you're able to go to at some point on your herbal journey, because again, you're going to be out there just immersed in nature for hours on end, learning about your local plants. And yeah, I think to add to that, online school is a great way to have additional learning from
Mm-hmm.
lots of different teachers. And you know what? We live in the internet age, so take advantage of it. Plus, a lot of times online learning is cheaper. Um, so so there's that. But yeah, I would say definitely start with a book and definitely start with a in-person plant walk. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, April.
I love that. That's fantastic advice. I mean, that's how I started was a book. I think it was Rodell's Herbal
Oh,
Encyclopedia, which I still use. I can't believe how amazing that book is. And then, yes, I've got two Rosemary Gladstar books, a local, like if you can find a local wild herb book, then you really are like gonna be happy. And then yeah, plant walk, hands down. And I remember a plant walk when you're like, I'm getting chills. I remember this plant walk, and Eugene, I remember when I did with Frank Cook and
mm,
Asheville. And he was such this beautiful free spirit. He saved all the money from his plant walks and he traveled around the world. And I was just so intrigued by him. And it was just all wild herbs. And we just went into the woods, in the mountains. I think we were like in Pisgah National Forest. And that was Sierra Foley School. So it was a traditional herbalism certificate. I think it was 250 hours. And we met 1 week in a month for like 6 months. And I loved it. And I did that when I was getting my undergrad. And so it was really nice. And then now, yeah. So now that I have that kind of backbone or like our foundation, I guess. Now I can do these like more supplemental trainings online. And so
yeah.
which brings me to my next question. For an intermediate or an advanced herbalist, like what do you recommend? Like what have you seen the schools that are out there? And do you think we have enough opportunities for advanced herbalists or, that can do continuing ed?
Yeah, absolutely. And so just disclaimer, I'm not a clinical herbalist myself. So I would say I've done a couple different apprenticeships myself, but they were probably both more on the beginner intermediate side.
Mhm.
But I will for instance, my original teacher, Howie Brownstein at the Columbine School of Botanical Studies, I took his the Columbine's 2 year apprenticeship, and then he offers a 3rd year. And what you're doing there, if you're looking to become a clinical herbalist, if that's your path, what you do essentially is you go into the clinic with him, with clients, and you spend hours upon hours upon hours, not just studying, but actually shadowing as essentially like a job shadow, to learn the ways of the clinical herbalist. So if you're able to get some sort of internship or in clinic hours with the herbalist that you're studying with, I think that's definitely the best way to go to get those really advanced trainings.
Mm.
Now, again, we brought up the internet a few times. I know people like, say, Erica Gallatin also has like a clinical mentorship program where you're able to actually go in depth online via an online clinic and stuff like that. So uh,
Wow.
I know
That's
it's
cool.
incredible. And I actually asked her about the efficacy of that. I said, do you think that it's important to be in person or online? And she said, I think that both can work for, whatever you're trying to accomplish, both can work. But if you have the ability to do in person, I think that you're going to see clues, especially if you do like tongue and pulse diagnostic, that kind of stuff. Being
Yeah.
in person could be really helpful and effective. But yeah, I would say definitely just spending as much time in the clinic with that particular herbalist is super helpful.
That's great advice. That's
Yeah.
really, really good advice. Yeah, because there's so many pathways. And so you brought up clinical herbalism. What do you see as the pathways in herbalism for someone who's
Yeah.
listening and maybe they want to make it a career?
Yeah.
Maybe they want to make this a life mission. I know I did. It took me a while to find out and figure it out to how I could do it, and faith and just kind of, I want to say reckless abandonment. No, of
Sometimes it
my
requires that.
job.
Totally.
Um, like, what do you see as the pathways, or like the different spokes of the wheel for herbalism in terms of a career?
There's so many, and there's even so
Yes.
many when I worked at Mountain Reserves. For instance, I was the events person, and so many people would come up to me at herbalism events and conferences and stuff like that, and they'd say, Mason, you got the best job. And I had to agree with them. I really loved my job. But a lot of people that worked at Mountain Reserves, they were in the procurement department. So what they were doing is they were traveling the world and purchasing herbs to
Mhm.
sell at Mountain Rose Herbs. And you know, I think a lot of people would view that as an incredibly amazing job as well. So just right there, that's two jobs just at this one company. I think more than anything, it's, and I could name a bunch of different ways about having a professional career as an herbalist. I think clinical herbalist is like kind of the cliche example, but I think what really matters the most is you just going deep inside and saying, where is your heart calling you to do? Because
Mm.
April, you have carved your own path, and I have to presume it's because that's what your heart was telling you to do. I don't think you just kind of randomly stumbled into it. You know what I mean? Like now you're one of your things is teaching folks about the benefit of wild plants and the magic of wild plants and just wild plants are so important. And I love that. And I think that I think that there's something that calls each of us.
Mm.
I Although I did think I used to want to be a registered dietitian, I thought that was my path for a little bit. I don't think at any point when I was studying herbalism, I was like, I'm going to be a clinical herbalist. Maybe super early on,
Mhm.
but I feel as if when you go down the path, things start just appearing to you like this is where I want to go with it. And for me, I really wanted to share the community.
Mm.
And I knew that since listening to, again, like John Gallagher, Herb Mentor Radio, I was like, I love what he's doing. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of sharing what's happening in the herbal community. Like that was the most important thing to me. And I think it's really pursue to the fullest what aspect of herbalism is calling to you. Is that wild crafting? Is it being that procurement person? There's so many. Is it clinical herbalism? Is it gardening? Herb farming. There's just so many different routes. It's just what is calling you and experiment. And you know what? You might be wrong the first time and just learn, right? Like you might get it wrong, but learn, grow, and iterate and change direction as need be. But if you're on the plant path, I think there's something that's going to be calling to you.
That is such good advice. You're right. Because I mean, if you have a spark, and obviously you do because you're listening to this podcast, right? And you may not know, exactly where you're going to go. And it may just be because you really want to heal your family and your friends and your community, which I feel like everybody needs that. But it may be something that you can't stop doing. Like, I feel like if you can't stop doing it and you're constantly looking at it and it's bringing you joy, then you gotta just follow that path. Because if not, then you're denying us all of something we need, that special talent you have. Because yeah, I'm like, if you would have denied and you would have just stayed at Mountain Rose Herbs, like you would have denied us of this opportunity right here, and
Yeah.
for this person listening right now. And so I do think it's important because I almost, I almost didn't like denied it, or I didn't know, like it was like a transition point. I had to step into fully what my spirit and heart was telling me. So that's really good advice. Just keep going forward with what you love, and then it will reveal itself to you.
Yeah.
That's so true. Um,
I never
so,
thought do you mind if I add one thing to
oh
that?
no, not at all.
I never thought I'd be like, say, a medicine maker either. But Amanda and I recently, we just got this like strong itch to start like making medicine and maybe selling it at like just the local farmers market. We don't want to create like an herbal brand,
Mm.
but we thought it'd be just fun based on our pure own creative spark to create like a few medicinal products. And so that's like kind of in the stage where we're just brainstorming, but yeah, it's coming, and I'm just like really excited just to do it just to fulfill that part of our like herbal path, I suppose.
Yeah, creative outlet.
Yeah, creative outlet.
Because I think when you get to a point where you have, you've been studying herbalism for a really long time, 20 years, it's time now to do formulas. It's time now to make your own medicine. It's time to use your intuition and to craft things. And I've definitely been feeling a call to do that. I mean, especially the last couple of days, I'm like, oh, it's time to make formulas. Oh, it's time to combine
Yeah.
herbs. Oh, it's time to think about certain elements and really get serious about this.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I have all the wild herbs and all their uses, but I need to like hone in on these formulas, that are wild herbs, but body specific. So I like that you are doing that, you know, that you guys are honoring that call to be creative and use your knowledge to help people in the community.
Exactly. Yeah, this isn't like, oh, I want to start some herbal products business. This is literally just to scratch that itch. And to be honest, too, I want to see what kind of pretty labels Amanda can make. So,
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, Amanda, you got a talent. Let's do this. Well, Amanda could do a label making class and I would
That's,
sign up because I suck
that'd be
at it,
cool.
for lack
All
of a
right.
better word.
I'm going to talk to her about that.
Tell her she will literally, I will sign up. She,
There you go.
well, it's funny because I have members, you know, and they'll post pictures on the Facebook community group and I'm like, dang, look at those nice labels. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I get this paper from Staples and I cut it and you want to use some packing tape over it because it's gonna bleed. And I was like, oh, because I guess I'm simple. It's about the medicine, it's not about the label, but a pretty
Right.
label does make people want to take the medicine more.
Totally. Yeah, there's something about it.
So a pretty label is important, especially when you're selling a product. But
Right.
yeah. So you know, I want to ask you something because I had someone email me the other day and they said, you know, is your school accredited?
Mm.
And I feel like there's so many people that don't understand that there is no accreditation. You know, you can get a certificate, but it's just like you took this training. It's not
Right.
like you're a certified herbalist like you can do with yoga teacher training.
Yeah.
So for herbalists starting out, you know, can you explain how there is no certification for herbalists in America? And then maybe you can share your opinion on it
Sure.
if you have one.
Yeah, I mean, I was explaining pre-call that yeah, I could think one thing one day and then think the totally opposite thing the next day. But I'm on this subject. I'm currently of the opinion that I don't think that herbalists necessarily need to be accredited. I don't think that you need a certification to be practicing herbalism of any sort, especially if you're going to the stereotypical how to become a master herbalist and then it's like a 3-day course or something like that. To me, that's quasi laughable, especially when there's do you know Paul Bergner, April? Okay,
No.
so you got to look into Paul Bergner's work. So Paul Bergner would be deemed an herbal elder. He's amazing. He's based in Portland now. He used to run the Rocky Mountain Herbal School, I want to say, in Denver, if I'm getting that correct. But long story short, he has this tongue-in-cheek title to a class that he teaches. It used to be how to be a master herbalist in 20 years. Then it was how to be a master herbalist in 30 years. And now he's all the way up to how to be a master herbalist in 50 years because he's 70 years old and he's been practicing herbalism for 50 years. And he has constantly studied for the past 50 years and he still uses the word master herbalist tongue in cheek because you're never necessarily a master. Where am I going with this? I want to say I will shout out the American Herbalist Guild. They have something called the RHAHG. That's a registered herbalist under the American Herbalist Guild. I highly respect that nonprofit and what they're doing. You could get an RH certification through so many hours of study, but it doesn't have to be one particular branch of herbalism, which I think is beautiful. They're incredibly inclusive. You could be TCM, Ayurveda, Western herbalism, all the above. And all they're doing is they're testing your knowledge and seeing how many hours you have studied under another clinical herbalist. So I do think that there's some weight to having a RH if you're wanting to practice clinical herbalism, if that's your goal, although it's certainly not necessary. My teacher, Howie Brownstein, says you are an herbalist when your community comes to see you as an herbalist. You know what I mean? Like when people start getting, it's essentially a reputational thing. Is your community coming to you? Word of mouth spreads. Maybe you have a website. I don't know. But I don't think you need a certification to become an herbalist. Some people really need that piece of paper to feel like they got the value out of that class they're taking. But me personally, I mean, April, you could easily have some sort of certification, but that's all it would be. It would just be it would just be that. It would, it's not, it doesn't like
Right.
announce anything other than that
You took it.
you took that class. But funny enough, someone asked, so our membership area, the HerbRally Schoolhouse, someone emailed me and say, hey, does this count towards the American Herbalist Guild Registered Herbalist certification? And so I emailed Mimi Hernandez, who was the executive director. She actually just stepped down. Um, she said, yeah, as long as they're studying herbalism, it counts towards that, the RH. So April, and whoever's listening or a member of your school, that would theoretically also count towards registered herbalist status. Although I'll say, April, you should look into that yourself and
Yeah. I'll
just
have to
double
look into that.
check.
It's cool.
But I will say,
Share.
yeah, it is self-study. It should, or you're teaching herbalism, so it should count towards it. So that I think bears some weight. But other than that, I guess those are my general thoughts on certification. I'd be curious what you have to say about it too.
I mean, that was great. You did a phenomenal job. Yeah. I think it gives us, how can I say this? Like herbalism is such a big umbrella that it would be really hard to do. I mean, yoga is too, and there's the Yoga Alliance. And I think we do have this freedom as herbalists and teachers and practitioners. That is nice. Maybe it does make it a little harder for us to be, in an office and to have all these things at the end of our name. And some people need that. Some people have trust issues. Some people, need to have that. But I like what you said that, you become an herbalist when the community starts to see you, and you're never a master herbalist. And I couldn't agree more than that, because I feel like the longer I study herbalism, the more I realize I still have to learn, and it takes so long to form connections with these plants and see how they interact with your body. But then that's just your body. And so I am really loving Ayurvedic medicine, and I'm seeing that, I did a little dabbling in Ayurvedic medicine and Tibetan medicine is very similar to Ayurvedic medicine. And I can imagine that you probably love those two as well, because you have this affinity to being a dietitian or studying that. You know how important diet is. And so I feel like what I've noticed with herbalism is that people really have to get their diet right for these herbs to truly help. Because if we don't get their diet, then the herbs are going to not work as well. And so, and we want to get the herbs, into the diet. And that's the great thing about wild herbs, right? Food is medicine. But anyway, so I'm seeing more herbalists studying Ayurvedic medicine, and I love that. And I don't know, I don't go off on a tangent on that, but
Sure.
I think it gives us more freedom, and it gives us different ways that we can diversify and be unique, right? And so we need more teachers. I feel like we need more people studying herbalism right now. And that's why I'm happy we're doing this podcast, because I want to inspire people. And I know you're inspiring the listeners to study herbalism more intensely if it calls to them, maybe make a life mission, a life purpose, because I do think that we could use more schools, more teachers, more students, more clinical herbalists. We need to make it more, I don't even like the word mainstream, but normal, because I can't stand, I will say this, I can't stand the word alternative medicine.
I know, right? It's the medicine.
Yes, it's like, no, pharmaceuticals are alternative medicine, and people are just getting really sick and they're struggling. And I feel like the pharmaceutical company and our healthcare system is like a big mafia. And so I definitely do have strong opinions on that. So yeah, we need you listening. We definitely do. And so kudos to you, or Mason, and Amanda for HerbRally, because no matter where you are listening, you can go to HerbRally and you can see where you can learn. And actually, I really want to talk to you, because I'm about to teach medical botany, and I need to put that, would love to put that on your site. But anyway, so can you tell us, well, actually, before I do that, can you tell us, you did this quick fire run with me, and I won't do that because I know I've already taken a lot of your time, but what is your favorite herb right now?
Ooh, my favorite herb right now. I have been consuming a lot of hawthorn leaf and flower infusion. So I'm gonna
Nice.
hawthorn, yes, that's been my long time jam, but I'm kind of getting back into it. So yeah,
Nice. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah.
I'm over here with the hibiscus, but I like it
Ooh,
that you're with the
my
hawthorn.
mouth just puckered when you said that word.
It puts out the pitta, it puts out the heat.
Yeah.
So can you tell the listeners you're offering because you have the HerbRally Schoolhouse. And so can you tell us a little bit about the schoolhouse and your membership?
Thanks. Yeah, of course. So basically it is it's a private member area. It costs $10 a month. But basically our goal with that is just to kind of create a space on HerbRally where we're constantly adding new classes to it. Really, honestly, I wanted to create an area where our HerbRally fans could, if they wanted to give back, they could be members. Like it's kind of more like that, you know what I mean? Like there's so much free content on the internet. So it's like we have a ton, we have like almost 400 videos on our YouTube channel, over 700 podcast episodes on our
Wow.
podcast. We've got 80 something monographs on our website. Like all that's for free. So we're adding these classes. We were doing it once a week. Now it's more like once or twice a month to the HerbRally Schoolhouse membership area. And basically there's a bunch of classes inside of that membership area. It's $10 a month, but really we just wanted to create it as a way for people, if they wanted to support HerbRally, that would be a way to do it. And then they get something in return. But yeah, there's so many classes in there. Some of them are webinars. Some of them, like we went and visited Kyle Denton in Milwaukee, and he did a bunch of plant walks with us. So some of it's like very professionally created. Some of it's Zoom interview type stuff where it's like webinars. There's herbal community discounts in there. There's a Facebook group because we still haven't managed to figure out a community component that doesn't involve Facebook, which I would love to do that someday, where it's like more of a outside of Facebook situation. But yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
That's
Bunch of
awesome.
classes. Yeah,
And so you had Abby today. You said you were
that's right.
so what did she teach your members?
It was the
She came to-
fundamentals of foraging. So
Wow.
she talked about the safety, a bunch of different plants you could forage, just all the above, anything that had to do with like the fundamentals of foraging. So and especially that's one of her areas of expertise.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that you bring in different people and have different classes. I heard on your podcast episode with Camille that you had was it 20 page species monograph on calendula?
Yeah, yeah. So that's actually, I know it's wild. So that's actually not in the schoolhouse. That's available for anybody to read. If I'm just going off the dome, I think it's herbrally.com/monographs/calendula, maybe dash SP, because it's a Sage Popham. Do you know Sage? Okay,
No,
so Sage Popham, he's the School of Evolutionary Herbalism. He's based in Washington. But yeah, he submitted this monograph to HerbRally, and it's 20 pages on calendula.
that's
It's over the top.
awesome.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
heard of his school, but
yeah.
I
It's a
didn't
good one.
know. Is it him and his wife?
Yeah, Whitney.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to interview them one day.
Oh,
But
they're great.
anyhow, so so what is the best way for people to stay in touch with you?
Yeah, I would say sign up for the newsletter.
Yes.
Um, so yes, signing up for the newsletter is great. You could just go to herbali.com. You might get one of those annoying pop-ups, and then it'll say, you want these 13 herbal freebies, and then you just enter your email address, you sign up that way. We come out with, I don't know, 1 to 3 newsletters per week where we tell you about what's happening in the herbal community, primarily like new videos, new herbalism events, that kind of thing. Otherwise, we're at HerbRally on basically all social platforms, including TikTok, which we have like
Whoa.
we have like 4 videos on there, which I know you're huge on TikTok, April. Oh, you're
I
not?
have
Oh,
not done TikTok. I'm just
okay.
like, I can't do it. I just
I,
can't bring myself to do it
I
yet.
would say your videos would crush on there because they are crushing on Instagram, and it's essentially the same type. Like you could just re-upload your Instagram videos to TikTok, and I guarantee you'd get like 100,000 followers in the next year.
Uh,
I would think. Anyways, that's besides the point. The main place I would like to send folks though is our YouTube channel. We
mhm.
come out we in January we came out with a new herbalism video every day.
Wow.
Yeah, I know it's nuts. And then typically though we try to do Monday through Friday new herbalism videos. And you could just find us at youtube.com/c/herbrally, or just I think at herbrally because they have handles now.
That is awesome. You could almost do a subscription to your YouTube channel.
I know, it's
You're
crazy. It's all
doing
free
that many
too.
videos. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So definitely go and check that out. Go to YouTube and go to HerbRally. What are some of your favorites? Like if someone goes to the YouTube channel, what are ones that people should definitely watch?
Yeah. So a fun one, this just came to my head. Do you remember vlogs? Do you know what a vlog is?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so they're just like fun little lifestyle pieces. Me and
Uh-huh.
Amanda actually documented our vlog driving from Wisconsin to Oregon, but we took the southern route and we visited, I want to say, 7 or 8 different herbalists along the way. So it's just, yeah, so it's kind
Wow.
of just like this fun little adventure that we went on.
I love that.
That's just really sweet. But I guess bringing Rosemary Gladstar up again, episode 63 of the Herbalist Hour was recorded in person at the Great Lakes Herb
Mm.
Fair. And that is just a really fun and special video for me. So I think if you want
Oh,
to check out a really great interview, check out episode 63 of the Herbalist Hour on the YouTube channel.
I'm gonna watch that and I'll share it. Thank you so much for your time. I feel like you listening probably have such a good understanding now of how to get started on this career. I'm sorry, how to get started on this herbalism journey, right?
Yeah.
This plant journey that's so rewarding in many, many ways. And yeah, we'll never stop learning, will we?
No, we won't. And you asked a question earlier, and I want to say it was what does the herbal community need most right now? Was it
Yeah.
something like that?
Yes,
Something
yeah.
just kind of went into my brain, and I kind of want to share it.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
I asked a similar question to people in a different herbalist in a series we used to host on our YouTube channel. It was called Ask an Herbalist. I mean, pretty original sounding. That was pre me getting into interviews, but I would ask a similar question to that. And I actually asked Howie Brownstein, who was my original OG herbal mentor, and he was actually on the video of our vlog. But his answer kind of just came to my head, and I wanted to share it as well. And it basically, I don't want to speak for Howie, but this is kind of my interpretation of it is I think what the herbal community needs most is a little more acceptance for each other's POVs and viewpoints. And
Mm.
I think that we do get along pretty well, but it's always saddens me and discourages me when there's infighting in the herbal community just because I love the community so much. And I just want to see, I know it's probably overly optimistic to think that we should all just get along and everything, but I think for the most part, we all have really good intentions. And I think we're all just trying to do really good work in the world. And I just wish there was a little more acceptance on occasion between various different points of view on these different ways of seeing herbalism and healing. That said, if you're promoting dangerous practices or something like that, there's something to be said. But besides that point, the infighting and bickering that I see sometimes on social media is just uh bothersome to me personally, and I just wish I would see a little more acceptance in the herbal community on occasion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
We need that because we're stronger together.
Yeah.
And I would be awesome. Maybe in a couple years or something. Maybe we can team up because I think it would be so
Let's do
fun
it.
to have schools like people that are doing schools and herbal businesses, just like a conference for us. Like,
Right.
like not students, but then we could get together and be like, and just inspire each other and learn what's working, learn what's not working, find out what the gaps are, come together. Because we could definitely probably do better things together, for
Yeah.
sure. I kind of miss that with working with the service, working with the government, and having all these different like DNR and all these different organizations coming together and be like, okay, what are we doing? Like, what
Yeah.
are we doing? Are we doing good? Like, okay, people are really struggling with cancer. Like, cancer is becoming the leading cause of death. All right. Like, what are these herbs? What are the herbs that you're working with your patients? What do we need to be focusing on more and maybe focusing a little less on?
Yeah.
That I think that would be awesome just to help to lean on each other a little bit.
All right, let's spearhead it. Let's
Let's
do
spearhead it. All right.
it.
We can do it in Charleston.
Totally.
Maybe the middle of the country. Well,
Yeah,
thank
like
you.
like Wisconsin.
Yeah, like Wisconsin. I always went to a college in Wisconsin. But anyway, I'm going to put a link to your 13 free freebies.
Thank you.
I'm going to put a link to your 13 free freebies. Is there anything else that we can share with the listeners?
That would be fantastic. I mean
Okay.
that, and maybe the YouTube channel. But other than that, yeah,
Yes.
love it.
So go to the bottom of the show notes and click on the YouTube channel and make sure you follow it.
I'll actually say one more thing, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
You brought up looking up events in different states, which I love, and please do that, dear listener. Go check out the events in your state. The problem is a lot of these states don't have events in them anymore, or at all. Like some states I've never listed because I've never found out about them. I recently became aware of the herbal community that's budding in Indiana, which has got me so excited to know that there's herbalists in Indiana as well. So if you know of any herbalism events or teachers that is not listed on the website, you could go to herbalist.com/submit-and-event, and maybe you could just include that link instead, because that's a mouthful right there. But our plan is to eventually transition over all of the schools, as you were mentioning earlier, Yahola, which is now Wild Herb Academy. But we want to start listing, instead of just events per state, we also want to list them schools, farms, and events. So you can just go to the state page and see all of the herbalism things happening in your state, not just events. So I'll say that, but not just the states, but you could also check events chronologically that's happening throughout the world and the US. So it doesn't have to be per state. It could be per date, I guess, if you will. So I'll just say a call to action. Please let me know any events that you've got going on or that you know about. And yeah, we love to get those listed.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm going to head over there and I'm going to list some events. I'm going to make sure
Do it.
Yahola's Wild Herb Academy. I'm going to just check out everything you have going on and check out what everybody has going on across the country. And thank you so much for bringing us together, because you're doing such a good job, and for helping us. You're helping all us entrepreneurs, teachers just getting started. And I know you helped me. And so I appreciate it. And it's good to have you on the podcast. And thank you for sharing your knowledge. And
I'm so glad. Thanks, April. I love being on your show.
Yay.
Yeah.
Until the next time.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, this is Mason with HerbRally. Thanks so much for watching today's video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and also go ahead and subscribe. We come out with new herbal content each and every week. If you didn't know, HerbRally also lists herbalism events. We list herbalism events chronologically. We list them also by state. So you could just go ahead and search by Oregon or Wisconsin or wherever you live. You can find out what herbalism events are happening in your neck of the woods. We also list herbalism events, virtual herbal events. So if you can't make it to an in-person conference or plant walk, we list lots of virtual events as well. To find out more, you could go to herbalist.com/events or herbalist.com/virtual. But if you can help it, I would highly recommend trying to go to an herbalism conference. Those are some of the best learning experiences I've ever had, and that's where you can find different herbal teachers, and then maybe you could perhaps take their apprenticeship. But yeah, just do what you can. Get out there and learn about the herbs, like yarrow, dandelion, corn, all the above, like all the medicinal herbs. And we'll see you out there. Hope to see you at an herb conference. All right, bye.